In today's exploration, we unpacked what it's like to run the scripts and what it's like to explore authenticity. So we used the word choice. And we used the word choice because the word choice, from a culturally conditioned perspective, has a very different vibration and it brings up very different connotations in the body versus that very same word, but explored choice point up. So I'm sharing with you what we came up as a group around this notion of choice. I want you to focus your attention here to what choice means from the paradigm of the culturally conditioned beliefs, values, and attitudes that each of the women came in with. When we were exploring choice, what came up as a choice is limited. There's finite number of choices. It requires and it demands sacrifice. It requires and it demands that we abandon ourselves or that we abandon something and let it die, let another alternative die. It demands difficulty. So it's hard. Making a choice is really hard. And it's really hard because there's a right choice and a wrong choice, and you don't want to make the wrong choice or else you're going to have to live with the consequences of your choice, right? The whole, you made your bed, now lay in it. So you got to take responsibility for your choices, but at the same time, you can't really trust yourself. So don't trust yourself when you're making those choices, because if you make the wrong choice, then you're going to be responsible for it. So you better not take any ownership of any choices because it doesn't really belong to you. It belongs to your boss, or it belongs to your family, or it belongs to the church or someone else. So all you can do is kind of have maybe options, but options are one or option two. They're not the same thing. So when you're making a choice from the culturally conditioned belief around making choice is that it's overwhelming. It's that you have to make a choice, and often it leads to avoidance. It's people pleasing, so you're looking for what are others going to think and what's important to everybody else, so I better focus out there. It's a have to. You have to make a choice, and you better choose something, and you should know, but you also can't know. Like, you should know what to choose because you know there's a right and a wrong, but you also don't really know what to choose. So for the most part, this is exhausting and challenging for women, particularly for women, because there are people that have the right to choose and there are people that don't have the right to choose. So we came up with a very short list of children don't have the right to choose, women don't have the right to choose, people with mental and other disabilities don't have the right to choose. So you can see here in our exploration in the group, these are just the things that the women came up with in this group, but you will have your own internalized stories around what it means to choose for you. And some of these will resonate and some of them won't. However, for the most part in our society, we're taught to think of choice in this way. So in our paradigm, we explore, and we spend 5 whole days exploring the choice point and what that means. So below the choice point are all the things that you've internalized as real in your cultural conditioning growing up in your family system and that get replicated in society and so on, that define reality for you. So while we're exploring choice, this can happen for any nominalization. A nominalization is something that lives in your nervous system as real, but not as a tangible thing. So like a pen is a tangible thing. A nominalization is something that you hold as a construct. And when that construct is engaged from below the choice point, which by the way is how 99.9% of people live, it has certain meanings and certain constructs. So the moment that we talk about the here and the now, the choice point, which we're constantly living from as the here and now, in our model of the world and well systems, when you go above the choice point, what you're looking at is an exploration of the same nominalization, choice, but from an emergence, authenticity, capability, and spirituality, because you and I are the signal that animates the body. So when we're living from that place of the infinite, how does the definition of a word change? So in our group today, the definition of the word changed in the following way. Choice above the choice point when we're looking at emergence, and it took us 5 days to get here, so be very gentle with yourself if you're not quite sure how we got to this. Choice from above the choice point is alignment. So you're looking to align with that which is meaningful for you, that which is quote unquote right for you, and what you need to evolve as the next step. Above the choice point, you trust your choices. You're searching for possibility and potential and truth and authenticity and emergence and curiosity. You're engaging the process of choosing through curiosity, through playfulness, through the opportunity to make a choice and discover that it no longer maps to who you are becoming, and so you change your mind. So you can see that the redefinition of how you hold a particular nominalization literally changes how you live your life. It changes how you relate to that thing and how you now make choices. So for the women in this group, discovering how limiting it has been for them to think about choice in this way, so that we take everything that we're talking about and condense it to the familiar way of knowing what choice might mean, this opened up the space to discover, wow, how I hold a construct, literally, not figuratively, creates my reality. And so now, when I think about choice in this way, when I embody choice in this way, what becomes available to me is congruency, right? Alignment inside myself and trust that I've got this. So you'll hear me talk a lot about paradigm shifts in my everything we do at the Well Systems Institute and all the facilitators within it, so all the code model coaches and other Well Systems educators. What we're doing is we're seeking to educate people to their potential. And the way that we do that is through explorations like this, for example, where we take a construct that you hold as defined and definite, like reality, who you are, your identity. You're not fixed, right? Like you're not an is, you are an emergence, an evolution. That's how it happens. Otherwise, we would never evolve. We would just copy and paste, copy and paste. And copy and paste is what cultural conditioning is. That is one paradigm. So that is one mindset, one construct, one context about the world. And that context about the world will reveal to you how you think and how you should think, and will reveal to you what's possible to you in your reality, given that construct of cultural conditioning. So if you want to transcend, in other words, if you want to become more than the limitations of your cultural conditioning, which are giving you the life that you've got, nothing wrong with the life that you've got if you love it, but if you don't, if you want to transcend those limitations, you have to be willing to discover an alternative paradigm of being, not a different strategy to engage, not a different belief system to adopt. So you don't need more strategies in your life. You need to discover how to be yourself. And so when we're talking about a paradigm shift, this is what we're talking about. Now, for choice and for absolutely anything else, for us to live at the choice point in the moment that we're in, what we must be willing to do is notice that the cultural conditioning that keeps our reality in place is familiar, is automatic, is reinforced everywhere and by everyone that you know, in every corner of this universe, in our corner of the world on the planet Earth. And it is something that is so effortless for you to reach for because you don't have to think about it. It's your perception of reality and you just go ahead with it. So, for example, if you don't unpack choice and what that means to you, you and I are talking, but we're talking about two very different things. Because when I'm talking about choice, I'm talking about choice above the choice point, which is what we just talked about here. When you're hearing me talk about choice, you're hearing it from your perceptual filter that says, limited, sacrifice, you can't, don't do it, don't take responsibility, all that sort of stuff. And so when I'm talking about choice of something that's so profoundly beautiful, you hear limitation. Right? So it's important, if you don't want to live in limitation, to discover how to have a different conversation. And the starting point for that is always that you are, there's no question about it, you right here, right now, are living in a culturally conditioned mind and body. And so that cultural conditioning for you is so effortless that it's your reality, right? It's that whole thing around asking the fish, how's the water? What water, right? So becoming mindful that you're living in a culturally conditioned mind, and what does that mean to you? What does that mean for you? You'll notice that in the cultural conditioning, it's effortless, it's painful, you're focused on the expectations of others, you're focused on the story, you're focused on the narrative, and it's a whole lot of na 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 over and over and over again, because we have 65,000 thoughts every single day of our lives. And of that 65,000 thoughts, let's be generous and say 95% of them repeat on a loop. And of that 95% of those thoughts that you have every single day, 80% of them are negative and self-deprecating. So imagine that most people are living their lives from that space, probably including you. So if you want to change the quality of your life, and this takes what it takes, you've got to become intentional. You've got to become mindful. You've got to be present in the moment that you're in. You've got to discover what is your body as a quantum biological processor and what is its function in processing the different signals that are coming at us every single moment of every single day. You've got to develop deep intimacy with yourself. And what is that? And trusting the body and trusting the base of your spine or the bottom of your feet so that you know you're safe in the moment that you're in. Living this way demands a paradigm shift from focusing your attention outside of you to fully taking ownership of your internal states inside of you. And when you do that, in no uncertain terms, your life will transform.